At Thanksgiving, my niece asked loudly, "Mom says you're poor. Is that true?" The table erupted in laughter. I smiled. Guess she won't need the $1,500 I send her every month then. My sister's face went pale. Dad cleared his throat. And then Thanksgiving exploded the moment my niece opened her mouth. Without any tension. Without warning. One moment we were eating and the next she looked at me and said loud enough for the entire table to hear, "Mom says you're poor. Is that true?" The table went silent for half a minute. Then there was laughter. Not children's laughter but adults' laughter. Real laughter. My uncle nearly spit out his drink. My mother smiled as if it were some kind of cute little conversation. Melissa, my sister, didn't say a word. She just stared at her plate, pretending she had no idea how her daughter could have heard that. I didn't laugh. I didn't blink. I simply said, "Then she probably won't need the $1,500 I send her every month." Silence. As if a vacuum cleaner had sucked all the air out of the room. Melissa turned as pale as a ghost. My dad muttered, "Sarah, that's enough. No one needed to know. Why would you say something like that and make your sister look bad?" I stood up. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just grabbed my coat and walked out, leaving them sitting there with their mouths full and their eyes wide open. No one followed me. No one stopped me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty about leaving. Here's what no one at that table knew. For the past 3 years, I had been sending Melissa $1,500 a month. Every month. Silently. Without a word. It all started when she called me in tears, saying Dave had lost his job and they were in arrears on their mortgage. I helped. No questions asked. I just wired the money. Then the requests kept coming. She owed on her utilities. She owed on her car. She needed groceries. She needed help with school supplies. I paid. Every time. I never once threw it in her face. I didn't even tell my parents. I just kept it between us. Meanwhile, behind my back, she was telling our family that I was struggling. Broke. Lonely. A mess. She was portraying me as this tragic single woman who never had her life figured out. And I let her. I thought I was following the truth. I thought I was doing the right thing. But when I heard her own daughter say it, she said the word poor as if it were a tongue-in-cheek joke. I realized that was what Melissa was telling her children. She wasn't just lying to her family. She was raising her children to look down on me. And all while she was cashing my checks. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed replaying every phone call, every tearful story, every time she said, "You're the only one I can count on." And now I was the joke at her table. The family joke. And she didn't even flinch. The next morning she had the nerve to text me. It's just, "Hi. Did you forget to send me money this month?" No apology. No mention of what happened. Just straight to the point like nothing had happened. It was at that moment that something inside me snapped. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. She wasn't just ungrateful. She thought I owed her. And she was about to find out how wrong she was. Changed everything. Melissa's text came in at 8:14 a.m. the next morning like clockwork. "Hey, did you forget to send the money this month?" No good morning. No about last night. Not even a fake apology. Just straight to the point like I was her personal ATM and the withdrawal didn't go through. I stared at my phone for a minute. I wasn't even surprised. That's the part that got me, how numb I was to her using me. I had let it go on for so long that she didn't even think she had to pretend anymore. I didn't respond right away. I just sat with it. Thought about how 3 years ago she called me in tears about their mortgage. I wired her $3,000 that night. I didn't ask questions, didn't say a word to anyone. It felt good to help at the time. Like I was doing something meaningful. Family helping family. But somewhere along the line it shifted. It wasn't help anymore. It became expected. Demanded. And behind my back she was making me the family loser. So I finally responded. "You're not getting another dollar from me. Not now, not ever. Tell your daughter I'm poor, then learn to live without my money. You'll be fine." She didn't reply. Not for hours. When she finally did, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't panic. It was fury. Well, real mature Sarah. Way to punish my kids because you're in your feelings. I never asked you to help in the first place. You chose to. That last line. You chose to. That stuck. I chose to. I chose to carry her when she was down. I chose to lie to my parents when she didn't want them to know she and Dave were behind on everything. I chose to keep her secret. Chose to help her kids when she couldn't afford their clothes or their food. And now she wanted to act like none of that counted. I didn't respond again. But the family heard about it real fast. By that night I was getting calls. First from Aunt Marcy. Then from Uncle Jim. Then from our cousin Rachel, who I hadn't spoken to in a year. Is it true you were sending Melissa money? Apparently, Melissa had gone on a full-blown PR campaign, spinning the story like I had some breakdown and was now withholding money from her children to be spiteful. The victim act. Classic Melissa. But this time it didn't work. Once people found out how long I'd been supporting her, the tide turned. Even the ones who usually stayed quiet started speaking up. Aunt Marcy told me she'd always wondered how Melissa could afford dance classes and trips when she knew Dave was still in between jobs. My cousin flat out said she was disgusted that Melissa would let her daughter humiliate me at dinner like that. It spread fast. And the more people found out, the worse it got, for her. But not everyone took my side. That came later. When our parents found out. It was my mom who called first. Her voice was tight. Not angry, just controlled, like she was holding something in. I already knew what was coming. I had seen the missed call from Dad earlier, ignored it, then got the inevitable follow-up from her. That's always how it went. He'd go silent and let her do the talking. She didn't waste time. Why would you embarrass your sister like that in front of everyone? That was her first question. Not are you okay? Not is this true? Not why didn't you tell us you were helping her all this time? Just straight to the defense of Melissa, like she'd been personally wounded by the truth getting out. I told her exactly what happened. Every payment, every story Melissa gave me, every month I transferred money without hesitation. I said I never told anyone because I wasn't doing it for recognition. I just wanted her kids to be okay. Mom listened. Quiet. Too quiet. Then she said, you didn't have to say it at dinner. That wasn't the time or place. Now everyone thinks this family is falling apart. That was the moment I realized she didn't care what Melissa had done. She didn't care that I'd been used, lied about, laughed at. She cared that it made the family look messy. That the facade cracked in front of people who weren't supposed to see the truth. I said, you're mad because it got said out loud. But you're not mad at her for letting her daughter call me poor after everything I've done. She didn't answer. And that told me everything. My dad called me later that night. He was more direct, less emotional. But it wasn't any better. He said Melissa was going through a lot, and that I had thrown gas on a fire. He actually said those words. Like I was the one who made it a problem by defending myself. I asked him one question. Did you know I was paying her rent? Silence. Then he said no. But maybe you shouldn't have. That was it. The end of the conversation. I hung up without saying goodbye. So that's how the lines were drawn. Most of the extended family, cousins, aunts, even a few old friends who'd heard the story, took my side. People started messaging me quietly, saying they had no idea Melissa was in trouble financially, let alone that I'd been keeping her afloat. They said what she did was wrong, that I didn't deserve to be treated like that. But our parents, they closed ranks around her. Because she had kids. Because she was married. Because she was the one who'd always looked like she had it all together. Even if it was all built on my money and her lies. Melissa didn't apologize. Not once. Not even a fake half-hearted attempt. Instead she doubled down. The next message she sent me wasn't a sorry. It was a request. You said I'm not getting another dollar, but can you at least cover Ellie's field trip this month? She's really looking forward to it and it would be cruel to pull her out now. I stared at the message for a long time. And then I decided what I was going to do next. Melissa's message sat on my screen for an hour before I said anything. Can you at least cover Ellie's field trip? She's really looking forward to it and it would be cruel to pull her out now. Not I'm sorry. Not I messed up. Just another reach into the same pocket she thought would always be open. I used to answer immediately. The guilt would kick in and I'd cave. For the kids I'd tell myself. Don't punish them for their mom's choices. But this time I felt nothing. No guilt. No hesitation. Just a cold, sharp clarity. I replied. That's not my responsibility anymore. I didn't humiliate Ellie. You did that when you raised her to look down on someone who was helping you survive. I'm not paying for anything else. Not field trips. Not groceries. Not rent. Nothing. I hit send and blocked her number. 5 minutes later, I got a message from her husband, Dave. The first text he'd ever sent me. Ever. Look, I don't know what's going on between you and Mel, but Ellie really wants to go on this trip. I'll pay you back next month. I didn't reply. I didn't unblock her. For once, I was done cleaning up her messes. By the next day, she had gone full damage control. She texted our mom, our aunts, even our cousins, anyone who would listen, telling them I was punishing children over an adult argument. She didn't mention the 3 years of money. She didn't mention the lie at the table. She just spun it like I was heartless. What she didn't realize was that people had started asking questions. My cousin Rachel texted me a screenshot. Melissa had tried to get her to Venmo her for the field trip, claiming I had flaked and left them hanging. Rachel told her no. She wrote back, "Ask your sister. She's the only reason you've made it this far anyway." Other family members started messaging me, telling me stories. How Melissa had asked for money over the years from different people, how she always made excuses, how she never paid anyone back. It wasn't just me. I'd just been the one who said yes the longest. That weekend, I went over to my parents' house. I was tired of hearing things secondhand. I figured if they were going to pick sides, they should at least say it to my face. We sat in the living room. My dad stayed standing like he always did when he didn't want to get too comfortable during a difficult conversation. My mom sat stiff on the edge of the couch, hands folded like a courtroom witness. They didn't say much. I did most of the talking. I told them about the payments, the exact amount, the frequency, the timing. I pulled out the spreadsheet. Every dollar, every transfer, every call for help. I said I never wanted praise. I never wanted credit. I just wanted her to stop lying about me while I was the one keeping her lights on. That's it. Neither of them looked me in the eye. My mom said, "She's still your sister." I said, "I know." Then I got up and left. That's when I realized, family isn't about blood. It's about respect. And sometimes the most respectful thing you can do, for yourself, is walk away. Melissa thought I'd cave eventually. That I'd get tired of the silence and come back like I always had. She didn't know yet, I wasn't the same person anymore. 2 weeks passed. No contact. It was almost peaceful. No late-night texts, no desperate voicemails, no quiet Venmo requests labeled, "just lunch," smiley face, that we both knew weren't for lunch. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. I slept better. Ate better. Worked without my stomach in knots waiting for the next emergency from a house that wasn't mine to fix. Then one morning I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was my dad. Not from his phone, he had used the landline at home. His message was short. "Sarah, your sister needs help. I'm not going to beg, but think about your niece." I didn't respond. By then I had already heard from others what was happening. Melissa had started scrambling. First she went to Aunt Marcy again, tried the guilt route, tried the tears. That didn't work. Then she reached out to Rachel a second time. Also a no. She even tried to get her church involved. Told them she was between jobs, that she just needed a little help to get through the holidays. They raised some money. It wasn't enough. People were starting to realize what she really meant when she said temporary setback. She meant me being gone. Without my monthly money, things unraveled fast. Dave's hours got cut again. Their rent was already behind. And she'd built her whole lifestyle on the assumption that I'd always catch her when she slipped. That's when the texts started again. Not from her, this time from mutual friends. One of them sent me a screenshot of her Facebook post. She didn't mention me by name, but it was obvious. Some people will pretend to help you just so they can throw it in your face later. Be careful who you trust. Family doesn't always mean loyalty. It had a dozen comments. Half were people from her circle blindly backing her. The other half were quiet, neutral. People who had heard the real story by now. She was spiraling. But she still wouldn't say the words that mattered. Not "I'm sorry." Not "thank you for everything." Just more blame. I got a message from Ellie's school a few days later. Not from Melissa, directly from the school. Apparently, I had been listed as an emergency contact and alternate payer for field trips. I guess at some point she'd quietly added me to the paperwork without asking. The school said Ellie wouldn't be attending the trip. No payment was received. I sat there staring at the message. I thought about sending the money. Just for Ellie. Just so the kid didn't suffer. But then I remembered what Ellie said at that table. Not with hate, just with confidence. "Mom says you're poor." She didn't learn that by accident. And if I paid now, nothing would change. Melissa would think the silence worked. That guilt still worked. That no matter how bad she treated me, I'd still pay in the end. I didn't pay. I didn't respond. And 2 days later, Melissa showed up at my apartment. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was folding laundry and listening to music, just having a quiet day for once. Then I heard the knock. Not a soft one either. A loud, impatient knock that immediately made my chest tighten. I looked through the peephole. It was her. Melissa stood there in a hoodie and leggings, no makeup, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. She didn't look angry or smug this time. Just drained. I thought about not opening the door. Thought about pretending I wasn't home. But I opened it. Fully. I didn't say anything. Just looked at her. She didn't waste time. "Can I come in?" I moved aside without a word. She stepped in and stood there in the middle of my living room like she didn't recognize the place. She'd only been there once before years ago. "You really weren't kidding," she said quietly. "You're not helping anymore." I nodded. She sat down on the edge of my couch. I stayed standing. She looked like she was waiting for me to say something. I didn't. She let out a breath. "Things are bad. Like really bad. I'm behind on everything. Dave's hours got cut again. We had to borrow money from his cousin just to cover groceries this week." I didn't react. I know I messed up. I know what Ellie said was awful. And I should have said something. I should have stopped it. So I stayed quiet. Then she said it. "But you didn't have to humiliate me like that. You could have just talked to me after." That was the moment I felt any sympathy I might have had die completely. Even now, with everything falling apart, she still couldn't say she was wrong. Still couldn't say thank you. Still couldn't admit that what she'd done went deeper than one kid's comment. I finally spoke. "You let your daughter believe I was beneath you. You talked behind my back, made me the family joke, and let me pay your bills while you acted like I was the one who failed. And when it came out, you didn't apologize. You got mad you couldn't hide it anymore." She didn't look at me. "I didn't mean for it to get that far," she said. I don't know. I thought if people knew you were helping me, they'd think less of me. That I couldn't take care of my own family. But you couldn't." She didn't argue. Silence hung in the room. She looked around like she was searching for something else to say, some angle that might still work. "Can you just help this one last time? I swear after that I'll figure it out." I shook my head. "No." She stood up slowly. Didn't say anything right away. Just nodded to herself. "Then I guess we're done." "We've been done for a while," I said. She left. Quietly this time. No drama. Just walked out. That was the last time I saw her. Since then, word's gotten around. People finally know the truth. Some of the relatives stopped speaking to her. Some are still on the fence, saying family is complicated. But most of them have told me privately they get it now. My parents still think I should have kept it quiet. They haven't said much lately. I stopped expecting them to. But me. I'm better. Lighter. Free. I'm not angry anymore. Just done. Some people don't understand what a gift it is to be trusted, to be helped, to be supported in silence. Melissa took advantage of that. And when it finally came out, she couldn't even say 2 words. "Thank you." So now she gets nothing. Not my money. Not my silence. Not my guilt. And not me.